All right, Jerk-Offs, we are back. Sorry about the delay on this one. As you know, I am in Australia at the moment doing shows all over the place. So it was hard just to sit down and get this thing sorted. To tell you the absolute truth, I was looking for an English comedian based in Australia. As you know, we're doing the Australia month on the podcast. A bunch of Australian people talking about the UK. I thought it'd be cool to get someone from the UK and talk about Australia, like someone who's moved here and lived here. I wanted to hear what they thought. I wanted to hear their first impressions. And to be honest, I couldn't find anyone. I couldn't find a single professional English comedian living in Sydney, which was weird. I never actually thought about that before I tried to look. But yeah, it turns out they're not around it. I know a couple that live in Melbourne. I think there's one that lives in Adelaide, but no one in Sydney. So I couldn't find them. So I kept looking, I dug deeper, and I came across a friend of mine who is English. He's not a comedian. He is an E-Sports Commentator. Yeah. You know computer games, you know Counter-Strike, you know Fortnite, you know Dota. He makes his living going around the world, commentating on those live events, online stuff with Twitch, and also as part of a TV show on Channel 7 in Australia called Good Game. His name is Miles Ross. I'm real excited to talk to him about that because, you know, it's a brave new world, right? When I was growing up, video games was something that you did to waste time. You know, that was the Instagram scroll of the 90s or the early 2000s. You just, you know, get on there, play a video game, not really think too much of it, tune out for a bit, wonder why they let you play as the Nazis and the terrorists. Seems a bit confusing, but, you know, that's how it worked. But now you can make a full-time living off that. These huge events that go on around the world. And Miles is probably one of the first people, or definitely like our generation is like the first generation of people who are able to make a professional living, not playing the game. Like this isn't just as an athlete, as an cyber athlete, I think they call it, cyber athlete. He's just a commentator. He's just on the presentation side. He's your John Madden, but for people playing Counter-Strike. So I'm really excited to talk to him. I know he's been here a while, in Sydney the whole time. And yeah, he's like basically picked up his whole life, never gone back, never thought about it. And I'm just curious to talk to him about what he thought about Australia. Like what he thought about living here, what were his first impressions, what it would take for him to leave. I think that's always like an interesting question, like what it takes for people to go back somewhere else. And I don't want to waste any more time. I want to dive straight into that because if you know Australia today, right now, it's almost exactly when it's happening. It is the Melbourne Cup. That is a big horse race in Australia that everybody has a bet on because what is Australian culture if not having a bloody flutter? I don't know if you saw recently, but the Opera House, our most famous landmark, was recently turned into a giant, beautiful architectural marvel of a billboard to advertise a horse race. Not even the Melbourne Cup, but another horse race. So that's today. I want to get this thing out there as quick as possible. But just for anybody listening in Sydney, my one solo show in Australia is happening on Thursday, November 8th at Giant Dwarf. It's this Thursday. You can get tickets online at my website, www.danielmuggleton.com. It'll be great to see you guys down there. And if you do come down, please say hello and have a chat about the podcast. And other than that, I just want to thank anybody who went to Australian Comedians Dope Comedy in London. That was on Sunday. We had a packed house. Everyone had a great time. And if any fans of the pod went down to that, thank you so much for checking it out. Anyway, no further ado. Let's get him in here. The E-Sports Commentator, the Richie Benno of Counter-Strike, the Sam Kekovich of esports. It's Miles Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Get around it. Gonna go. That's the thing. I like to dive in.
I like all good podcasts. Your music fades, and then we're in, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to spoil it by these people. These people have just been like, man, this is such a professional podcast. This is great. And then now the music fades, and they're like, fuck, they planned that. We thought this was an organic little people sitting in a. Do you reckon like people picture a podcast as more or less professional than it actually is?
I always imagine it really pro,
like
Rogan.
Studio.
Yeah.
You
like
picture Rogan. I think most people picture Rogan.
Even when you think of like Mark Maron, he's like, I'm in the garage. Like, yeah, but your garage is still like soundproofed, and there's a really nice table, and those like mechanical boom mic hand things holding on the mics.
See, for me, I just like pictured that he like owned a recording studio that he called the garage. It's just like, we're live in the garage, and it's like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like,
yeah, right, mate.
You know what I mean? Just
and
like that.
And your cats are all your assistants.
Yeah. Like, it's just like my cats, and it's just this underpaid youth who wants to be a sound engineer. You know, it's like, oh yeah, whatever. No, I find that like. Yeah, I'm always. This is the thing. Like, I don't know. I think this setup is fine. Like, it's like a nice little intimate podcast thing. But there's nothing I hate more than that guy who buys all the equipment before he starts playing the sport.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like the guy's like gonna have a hit of tennis, so he buys like a white polo shirt that's like Fred Perry and a headband.
He's decked out head to toe, and his racket costs like $1,500.
Yeah,
but he's like, never played.
Dude, your swing costs $0. Like. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Dan,
right?
there are a lot of those people. In like, I'm a motorcyclist, and we call it like all the gear, no idea people. And
all the gear, no idea.
You see them all the
That's
time.
Good.
You see them all the time, like head to toe, in like Ducati leathers that cost hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Like
just like
minimum.
Such an investment.
Yeah, and they're just walking around like just flexing.
And then they ride it twice.
Yeah, maximum.
Like I think you should apply that standard to like, you know, those ripped dudes. Like, you know, as we are both in Australia currently, there are no shortage of just really ripped dudes, like just jacked accountants.
The buffest.
Yeah,
it's unreal
like,
here.
It's like, why?
Yeah, I mean, I often wonder, like, what do you need those muscles for?
That's exactly
I mean, you
my
look good,
thing.
But how hard is it to sit in like normal seats on buses and airplanes? Like, your life is a mess.
That's what airplane is the one that gets me, because like I'm like skinny tall. Like I think that's my body type.
You
like
are
just a noodle. You know what I mean? Like just an unbroken noodle. And like, yeah, a plane is annoying for me because of the length, but the width is good. I'm like probably correct plane width.
Yeah.
But those shoulder guys, what are they doing? Because they're not flying business. They're spending it all on meat. Like, there's no way they can afford business class seats.
All that whey powder. Like tons of powders.
Oh, that's, yeah. You know you're back in Australia when you see some dude carrying the most gigantic container of whey powder. Like, the powder never comes in a small thing. It's always like, no, you got to be fucking jacked to even lift the container.
Dude, that is something that, like, I mean, no, you live in London, so you don't. There's nowhere near as many like flat out jacked human beings in London as there are in Sydney. In Bondi Beach alone,
there's more than in the whole of the UK
put together. Like,
including professional athletes and like amateur wrestlers. Like, it's still more on Bondi Beach.
Yeah, it's something that because I've been here now for 7 years. Yeah, like more or less 6-7 years, and I remember the moment I got here, it was like I lived in Rose Bay. It's a very, very nice suburb.
Eastern suburbs. Affluent.
Oh, it's good. It's real clean.
If
there.
the Sydney suburb has bay in it, except for Botany Bay, unfortunately, that was the original, and then we just kind of forgot about it. But everything else, if it's a bay, it's nice.
It is a really nice place, and it was like 10-minute, like maybe walk or like a jog. Like I would jog. I'd go for a little run down to Bondi Beach.
Go for a run.
When I first got here,
you moved from England to Australia, and you're like, no, I'm gonna.
It's like
start sweating.
I was just afraid of the buses more than anything. Like, I didn't know what to do.
Oh,
I was like, I can't. I don't make enough. I don't have any money, so I can't get a cab, and I can't get on the bus because like I don't want to ask my partner now, like my wife now, like, how do I get on the bus, honey? Like, I was trying to hang on to this like independence, and I was like, I'll go for a run, and like I go down to the beach, and it's just like every single human being here is just perfect. Like, men, women, the kids, the elderly, everyone just looks so good.
Yeah, I've seen jack kids. How weird is that?
Oh, it's weird.
How are they doing that?
Why do their parents do that to them?
Well, that's the thing. Like, do they even do it, or do they just kind of come out and they're just like, they got abs and they just never go away?
Yeah, they've all got this like perfect blonde hair and they're just so friendly as well. Like, everyone is so nice here. But yeah, I mean, I still can't. I've got a rashie now. I can't.
You got a rashie?
Yeah, I can't take my shirt off on the beach. I just can't.
For the uninitiated, the rashie is the mark of a loser at the beach. Unless you're really, really good at bodyboarding or surfing, then it's okay. It's like it's a real top and bottom.
Yeah, we're not good enough at surfing yet.
Not at the middle.
I've done 5 lessons at the tender age of 29. Yeah, and honestly, I love it. Like, I'm awful. I'm fucking
Wait, is this like
terrible.
being like a consistent, a
Yeah.
recent thing?
Yeah.
Five lessons?
5 lessons, yeah. It
Wow.
didn't cost much, and we were like, the wife and I, well, let's get on it. We're in
Let's do
Sydney.
the surfing lessons.
I've been here for 6 years. How about you get in the water, champ?
Yeah. That'd be like, you live in London for 6 years, and it's just like, I think I'm going to pick up a slight coke habit. That's what I'm going to do. I just really, before I leave, I want to experience the culture.
And it still only cost a couple £100.
Yeah. Oh, way less than that. My God. Like, I reckon this is my new theory about the UK. I reckon they subsidize the price of cocaine to keep people thin. Like, I just think you subsidize the price of cocaine, you jack up the price of meat, and that way they don't need to put more trains on. Just like tons of skinny people just sardined into the train.
I like that. How do you find the trains? Like, because do you travel outside of London very often? Because this is something that when people travel to the UK, they are in disbelief at how expensive the rail network is outside of central London.
Yeah, but that's I'm mainly a bus man on my comedian salary. Love a megabus, love a National Express, but I've lent towards megabus. I couldn't tell you why. I just think for some reason it's got more character.
Yeah, National Express seems too clean and vanilla.
Yeah, they're
It's a
like
bit
the National
boring.
Express. They kind of have like pleather chairs, which I find
That's fine because it never gets hot
and easy to clean.
and easy to clean.
So it actually kind of makes sense, but at the same time, like, nah, it's like a gross kind of like porn material,
Well, yeah, and they flake when they get old.
Yeah,
That's the-
exactly.
And then
You're
you're
like,
covered
ugh.
in little bits of brown stuff.
Yeah, but they've both got. This is the thing. They both got free Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi is just. I've never used. I don't use it. I don't know why. I don't want Megabus having access to my shit.
I still don't feel like the UK has caught up technologically. Like they've only just in the last 5 years got the flat white.
The flat white.
Yeah.
I mean, that's big now.
And my dad called me. He called me and he was like, "You're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. There's a new coffee." I was like, "What do you mean, Dad?" He was like, "It's called a flat white. It's a lot of milk, a little bit of coffee." I was like, "Hang on, Dad, 1 second." And I was like, in total disbelief, I was like, "It's just a like any coffee you get in Australia. Like the flat white is a standard here." He's like, "And it only costs £4." I was like, "Fuck me, Dad, £4 for a coffee." Like, and this is like in Costa five years ago.
The coffee prices over there, I don't know why. Like, they're so expensive. Like, it's weird. Like, I mean, they're large, I guess. Like, you get like a lot of whatever it is.
It doesn't justify. Like here, when you get like a coffee, like you walk past cafe after cafe on the way here, and they're really reasonably priced. Like $3, $3.50 at max, $3.80 if you're going for the fancy shit. But like in the UK, you are paying an arm and a leg for a cup of very milky crap.
Yeah, but like a high street, like you get in the high street chains, like your Costas, your Cafe Neros, your Starbucks. I got to say, when I first got there, that was like my least favorite thing. Just how like everything exists exactly the same somewhere else. Like even the architecture of the store has been stolen from like somewhere in fucking Norwich or like whatever. You know?
I went to uni in Norwich and like I left. So I grew up I was born in London, but I grew up most of my life in England.
Which part of London?
I lived in, it was St. Thomas's Hospital. But we lived in Stockwell for quite a long time.
Oh, Stockwell. Okay, so just south of
the Northern Line.
Yeah, Northern Line.
Yeah,
everyone's favorite line, the Northern Line.
So we were there for a long time, and then at one point we moved around a little bit. We moved to Dulwich for a while, and I've lived in like this is very very young life though. Like I got a limited memory of this.
Yeah.
But then we moved to the US. Dad got a job with DreamWorks. So we moved to Santa Monica, which is cool. But when we came back, which is like where the collective memory lives, we lived in like West Sussex, like down south, proper countryside.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in a tiny little town called Cold Waltham.
Cold Waltham.
And guess what? It was freezing.
Yeah, Cold Waltham. Man, that's like a good English town name. You know?
Yeah. We had a church, like a tiny church, just across the street. And get this, because like I know I've been listening to the podcast, so I know you're like how old London is, and it's some of it is shocking. But my home that we grew up that I grew up in Cold Waltham was built in 1220.
What?
Like that's
12,
hundreds of
20.
years before Shakespeare.
Oh, that church or that house?
The house was called, and you can Google this. It was called the Old Priest House, because it was the priest's house. Across the street was the church, so he had this like sweet pad, and like the house was built in a way that like the downstairs area that we transformed into a dining room was like it was where the cows lived. because you had to have your own cows.
Cows back then.
You needed cows, yeah.
You need your milk.
Yeah, 100%.
They're going to invent a new coffee in 800 years.
Yeah,
you're going to need that.
There's a lot of milk in those flat whites. We're going to need get them teats going. So yeah, the ground floor was built in 1220, and then like in the Elizabethan era, the top floor was built. And it is honestly, it's unreal, man. When I look back at it, I think that was fucking ancient. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, whatever, it's just another old house. Yeah. But also, like,
just like, this plumbing could be better, and then you move on with your life.
It was a miracle we didn't have hot water for the first, like, 3 or 4 months when we first moved in there. And it was...
What?
Yeah. The previous tenants, it was a restaurant. And I think it still is a restaurant to this day. Got to make a pilgrimage at one point. But it was such an old place. They had no piping, no central heating. I don't know how they got electricity. Like, they did... like clearly, but I just still don't understand. And essentially, like we installed all the pipes, we installed like more power and everything, which obviously cost a fortune. It had a thatched roof, which costs a bomb to like keep maintained, and like because it's a heritage listed site, we can't make any changes to it. So like the windows were like the original windows, and they're all just open. We were living like 80% outdoors.
Just kind of like this carport that's like really old, and just why were the windows open? You said it was
just
cold.
like those little diamond.
Could they even open? Do old windows open?
Some of them we shouldn't open because I would open them and it just fall off, and you'd like,
that's what I
fucked it up now. And Dad's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Dad, I'm sorry. And you put it back on. You'd like lower it down onto the little peg thing that was holding it all together.
I'm picturing like a lot of stone. Is it just kind of like those weird little bricks?
Yeah, we had
that you picture of like the Low English fence, the Low English wall. We had a lot. That's like kind of knee height, and you're like, why is this here?
Who's that stopping?
I think back in the day, people were shorter.
They were definitely shorter, Dan. You've brought me on to my next point. What? All the doors were like, because I'm 6'1", all the doors, you're a big dude. You're 6'2", something like that.
You're right. I'm about you. Maybe a little bit taller than you.
You've got height on me, but all the doors are like a good
eyebrow height.
5'9". So we ducked under every doorway, and I shit you not, it was like.
But why did your family move into this? Like,
I don't know. Dan.
I don't understand. Like, were you churning butter? Like, what was going on?
I don't really know. Like, it must have been a killer deal on an ancient home.
But this is, I think, coming from Australia, you'd see like ancient home. You'd be like, this must be very expensive. This is an antique.
This was built in the 50s, this apartment block, and everyone tells me like that is old as hell here, and I'm like, you don't know old. I grew up in a museum. We had a plaque. 20. We had a plaque that came with the house we couldn't get rid of. Like,
couldn't get rid of the plaque.
Yeah. The kids from the local school would occasionally just come by, and I remember one day like I'd just go out the shower. Oh, sorry, the bath. We didn't have a shower.
Yeah.
I'd stand up and douse myself. It's the only way to do it, man. You couldn't have a bath every day. It takes hours. I went to my bedroom.
Just a side note of like Englishness there. If you're going to have a bath, you got to enjoy that shit.
You don't just, with candles.
No efficient bathing. Like, that's ridiculous.
So I'd come out of the wash area and just go like towards the front room, and there's a lot of windows on the top floor.
Yeah.
And like I'd be semi-naked, and there'd be like 30 school children in our driveway, and a woman just pointing up. Not at me, but like at the house and explaining the history of the house and stuff like that. And that was a regular occurrence.
So you were like a tour destination. Like you were like part of a educational...
Yeah, we had a man who
You're like the Anne Frank house, but happier.
Way happier.
A lot happier.
Way happier.
Oh, that's like my go-to famous house, the Anne Frank. That's the only...
Because you can go there.
You can.
I mean, go there.
It is literally a tourist stop. Like, I'm not saying I was wrong in what I said, but I do feel bad about it.
Yeah. But it was a cool thing. We had like old people come to the house, like a guy who was easily in his 90s, and he banged on the door and he was like, "Hello there, I grew up. I was born in this room." And I was like, "Far out, mate. Do you want to come in and have a look?"
And he's like,
he was like, "I don't really remember much, but I'm here now." I was like, "Good on you, man. Like, wow, how far have you come?" He was like, "From Brighton." I was like, "Well, it's a train line. It's not that bad."
It's a train, yeah.
It's really not that
One
bad.
of those expensive English trains.
Yeah. So that's a big plus of being here, man. Is how cheap.
But you didn't. How long were you in this like ancient house?
Honestly, like over 10 years. We did. I moved. The family moved out there. We moved out of the house for good and sold it. About 3 or 4 years ago. I helped move out. Wow. Yeah, flew back, helped parents move out.
So what age group were you in? Like high school?
Yeah.
So you're like. Did you ever bring a girl back to like the ancient house?
Oh God, no, dude! I was a gamer. I didn't see women until I was a man.
Right. Okay, sorry. I was just trying to picture this thing where it's like you meet a girl and like like come over. It's like, oh, where do you live? The old priest house.
Like, do I need to buy a ticket to come in?
And
like,
she's
nah,
like,
baby.
I'm bringing several friends and some mace. Like, this sounds like a trap, like for sure. But okay, a gamer. I mean, that's good. We got there. We made it because you are a gamer. And like a real one? Is that
one of the few
that
made it out?
Well, I'm talking to Miles Ross, original Englishman.
Yeah, but mum's from Scotland, dad's from Leytonstone. Yeah.
Yeah, and he lives in Australia, and he's a gamer.
Yeah. Well, I'm a E-Sports Commentator. That's the official go. That's what in modern parlance, that's what we call it. I mean,
An E-Sports Commentator.
yeah, man. So
like Madden, but in real life. Like
yeah. So when you take nowadays, it's all the rage to call it esports. So we just used to call it competitive gaming. We're like, you're the guy on the street who's really good at like Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And you play him, you're like, wow, he's really good.
Like an arcade legend.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
Like, he's got his own buttons and shit.
It's like the level up from that. It's like when you go across the country and you smash up other people, and there's like a hat at the door, and you put in your 20, and the guy who wins all of it takes the cash in the hat. We have just taken that and extrapolated it to a point where now like we're giving millions of dollars away to kids in stadiums.
Because now it's like it's real. Like it's what kind of prize money? Where would it kind of rank in terms of like real sports? Like, is it starting to approach?
Yeah, I mean,
because surely, like, I know Korea is the kind of mecca. Is that the biggest one? Biggest market?
It is the biggest market, but the US they give away a lot of money. There's like crowdfunding in games.
That's so atypical for the US to be like, wait, no, we can give away more than you.
Yeah,
we can Oprah this.
We don't have the biggest audience or the most fans, but look at all this money.
Look, take this fucking money. Yeah.
So the US is really big on that. There's a tournament, Dota 2. They do a tournament every year called the International, and the prize pool is like $25 million. Like it's
$25 million.
Yeah,
Wow.
An Aussie won it this year. It was part of the team that won it.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and he had to buy a house with cash. How nuts is that?
I can't believe like an Australian athlete won something this year, a year that has been dire for Australian sports. No coverage.
No coverage. Yeah.
We're just still too proud.
Yeah.
To be like, no, we're good at inside stuff too. We're good at outside stuff and inside stuff.
Look, we're getting there, man. I mean, most of the time, whenever games are mentioned on the news, it's like, my son plays too much Fortnite and now he's getting aggressive. And it's like, there's more to it.
What accent was that supposed to be?
I don't know, when I turn the telly on occasionally and there's that woman that's like, there's always a woman, she's always being angry about the kids playing Fortnite, or the dad that's like, oh, what happened to kicking the ball in the garden? You know, like.
That one was better. I think your Australian man accent is better than your Australian woman accent.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, I mean, the Australian woman accent definitely had shades of like New Zealand to it. You just kind of slipped into the bro.
I was there like 2 weeks ago. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has your accent changed since you've been here? Because what, 7 years? That's a
7
tenure.
years.
That's a stretch.
My friends have said it has, but I've done everything in my power to not let it happen.
Good. I think that's the correct response. Some people are like, no, I want to sound more. It's like, no, just talk like you talk.
Do you? I watched like
I say quid now though. I do it. Shamelessly.
It's a great word though. Quid.
It's good.
Quid. Nothing sounds like that. A couple of quid. Or a few bob. A couple of quid.
I wouldn't do bob.
Have you picked up a lot of slang actually since living in London?
No, not really. Like, I'm trying to think if there's any quid. I say grim a lot, but I think that's kind of out here as well. I think that's kind of international. That's just like middle class slang.
It is, isn't it? What a grim day, gosh.
Yeah, just like, dude, man, that place is fucking grim.
Grim.
Like that. If I saw your childhood house, I would probably describe it as grim.
Yeah, it's very spooky, grim.
But like, I'm trying to picture it more. I'm still hung up on this house because like you lived there for many years.
Oh man, long time. Yeah.
So like, was it like a TV?
Yeah.
And then like ancient wall.
Ancient, dude. You could kick your way out of the front room. It was so old. The plaster. Like there were times where like I threw an empty cardboard box at my sister in a fit of rage, and it broke one of the windows. Like it broke the metal. It broke the metal work on the windows. Yeah.
Wow.
Like it bent it out of shape. And obviously like because the basically to describe it, I mean it's hard to describe. Basically like a diamond sort of shaped metal framework that held these little diamond cutouts of glass. Yeah.
I think I got you. Kind of like the cheap church, like like the not the proper stained glass, the cheap.
But that was like every single window in the house. Wow. And obviously, like throughout the years and years, hundreds of years, the metal had warped and shifted.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And like, you just drafts everywhere. We had like plastic cellophane wrap over the windows. That was the best we could do because you can't change the facade of the house.
Because to be protected. Because they're like, we gotta keep these tours up.
Yeah, but we'd also be like, every now and then, the government's like, you better do something about that thatch. I'm like, can you give us a hand? They were like, get fucked, and they didn't want to help. And it was honestly financially draining on the family.
But why? I still don't understand why. Like, was your dad working near there? Is your dad really old? Like, he wanted a house that reminded him of his childhood? Like, I just don't get it.
Dad worked in London. We had a train station like 5-6 minute drive away. So he would commute every day.
So you did the classic. That's the classic. For those of you who don't, I don't know. I'm looking away to people who aren't here, being like, for those the audience who don't know, that's a very standard thing in the UK to live outside of London. Just commute in every day, like hour and a half, 2 hour commute is considered very acceptable. Yeah,
you've made it. If you got an hour and a half commute, you made it.
Yeah, and you just go in every day, but it costs you like. What, like £2,000-3,000 a year?
It cost me I was like a runner for an editing suite in London, and like I was getting paid peanuts anyway. And I remember having to give over half of my weekly salary easily to travel fare. Yeah, and then they would reimburse me, but I was still just like, Jesus, man, what am I doing? I should just live here. Because
like there's like a huge can you get like a yearly thing? Like it's like a one-off expense, and it's like. Like £8,000. It's just like, what? It's like, yeah, it's a train ticket for a year. And I'm like, that is the craziest shit I heard in my life.
Ever. This is the thing.
What's the price of a car?
Southern Rail are the devil. And if you're like, and all the train stations are so old, like there's no like barrier or gate, so you can just get on the train. And you get on the train and the guy's like, tickets, please. And you're like, oh shit. Yeah, I was late to work, so I ran for it. I got the train. I'm not going to lose my job, but I've now got a £95 fine for not having a ticket on the train.
£95. So that's not too bad. I reckon Australia is like the most obscene fine place in the world. Like it's like that kind of like just convict hangover. It's like if you fuck up, you're gonna pay for it.
Pay, boy.
We can't deport you anymore because we really don't make it seem like there's not a lot of room here.
Yeah,
but,
I can't believe how
much that fine.
Like a speeding ticket costs you
$700.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I had like a no registration. I got like $700 twice, so it was like $1,400.
I'm petrified of getting fines. Like I can't do that. I just can't. In the UK, I'd be like, you know what? Let's do 50 in a 40 zone. It's a 30. Let's just go all the way up to 70.
Let's chance it.
Let's chance it. There's no police here anyway, and the police, like, I mean, I know they make their money from speeding fines and whatnot, but it was just. There's no real deterrent aside from a bit of cash to not break the law in the UK. Criminals must love it.
I mean, you got a rich history. I've seen all your Guy Ritchie documentaries. Like it's all good stuff.
Sherlock Holmes 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. And Rock and Roller. What happened to the sequels? I don't know. He forgot.
That was meant to be a trilogy.
It was. I remember. I remember because I'm always into his shit. I don't know why. I just get just that kind of the accent thing. Yeah, Snatch and Lock, Stock.
So when I people always like Americans especially because I work with Americans mostly. They're like, hey, what's it like? Being in England. What's your family like? And I'm like, well, my dad is like a Guy Ritchie movie. Like he's a Cockney. That side of the family are all Cockneys. They grew up in like East London. They're EastEnders. My grandmother was an extra in EastEnders for decades. Like she really went that far.
She started off as a mother, became a grandmother. That's how long she was an extra.
Yeah, pretty much. Like and when they're like, okay, what's to do with your mum? I'm like, oh, mum's from Scotland, and they're mostly like, where's Scotland? How is that in England? And I'm like, do you know Westeros? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so King's Landing is London. And when you go north of the wall, they're like, gotcha. I'm like, that's Scotland. Yeah, so my mum is a wildling. And they're like, oh my God, makes so much sense. I'm like, you're an idiot. That's most of my encounters with the United States.
I just want to give a shout out to the United States people. I do think of England as Game of Thrones quite a lot.
It's the same thing, man.
In terms of history and geography. Like, it's not right, but it's not wrong enough that you don't understand what's going on.
100%.
Like, genuinely. Like, the themes are the same.
Yeah, like, I mean...
There's like, everyone hates King's Landing, nobody lives there, but you're kind of bound to it, and other people are trying to break out, and they don't like it. And then there's this other culture over there.
Yeah, and that's just Europe.
And Europe has heaps of slaves. I don't know if you've been there. Europe has just the sheer number of slaves in Europe is crazy.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal amount of slaves
freaky.
To this day.
Yeah. That's why, thank God for Brexit, that the UK is finally not condoning this open slavery in Europe. Oh, wow. This could really cause some misinformation.
How do we get here again?
We were talking about this house. Just you lived there for so long, and then the commute, that London daily commute.
Yeah, brutal commute.
And then, but the gaming. But this is
sorry.
Back to the game. You said mainly US people. So, but you got into it over here, right? Like you got into it through being in Australia, or was it kind of?
No, it's been in my life like forever, man. Like you whatever your like passions are. Like for me, it's a weird thing to be like I'm passionate about video games. Like it's a weird thing.
Well, that I think we're the last generation where that is true.
Yeah.
I think everyone after us would be like, no, I mean, other people are passionate about Instagram. Like that makes way less sense Because it's not photos, it's not photography, it's not graphic design, it's Instagram.
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm into mundane photos and good captions. That's what I like.
Great captions and that little shopping bag at the bottom left that tells me I can buy what's in the image.
Oh, dude, if you come up with a good caption, you take the rest of the day off. Feels great. I've had
watch them likes roll in, mate.
Dude,
just watch them roll in.
Oh, I do. Like I don't have a lot on during the day. No, I genuinely, this happened to me the other week. This is how I know that I'm in too deep. I thought of a good caption a week after I put the photo up.
Oh, no.
Like, clearly that had just been ticking in my subconscious, and I was just like, fuck. Like, I missed it. And then I considered just taking it down, doing a repost with a good caption. Nah.
Do it. We'd all forget. We'd forget.
I refuse.
The way people are now, we'd forget, and you'd get away with that, and they'd go, man, he's fucking good at this. And
nah. I can't do it. As an Australian, I've had a long history of ignoring my history, and so...
God.
Yeah.
That's another thing about coming here. We don't know shit about this country's history in the UK. I mean, growing up in the UK, the schooling system, they teach you World War II, bit of Napoleon maybe, all the shit we won.
Yeah.
Anything we won, you get taught about. So obviously, like, I know all about World War II. Did it at university, did history at university. What did I do? The Second World War, because we won, baby. But we don't learn a whole lot about the US history, most of European history, only if it directly affects
the
where the UK is now. We don't know anything about the empire,
Right.
None of that
would have been pretty prominent. That's a big win.
We
guys were winning the world for a bit.
We were number one. We learned a little bit about India and Gandhi and things like that, but very, very, very surface level, and there's nothing about Australia and New Zealand.
What do you mean nothing? Like
we don't. We get taught in the English curriculum. I mean, I'm 29 now, so like when I was at school, it wasn't like there was an elective on Australia, like none of that shit. So when I came here, I was like, "What's the deal here?" And I kind of dug into the history of the country. Like, wow,
yeah,
what the fuck? Firstly,
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
But the thing is, I don't even know that much about it. Like as like a white Australian who went to a private school, they don't really cover it. Like they're like, let's keep talking about the War of the Roses, guys. That's pretty sick.
How about them Roundheads?
Yeah, they were jerks.
Yeah, it's
tough. What did we do with the people who are already hit? Don't worry about it, guys. Come on, Henry VIII. He had a few wives. Like your dad, right? Yeah, private school. Lots of divorces.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's been really, really interesting being here and seeing that, because like as a British person, I know that I think we're the worst people in history.
Wow.
No one has a kill count like the British Empire. Across the entire world, like I mean, we're going down this one. Lot of genocide, all of your favorite racial slurs, and just like the greatest list of oppression. Like the Brits did it first. We invented like concentration camps. Yeah. And like we were laying into the Jews way before Adolf Hitler was. Like honestly, I just think the Brits are like unequivocally the worst.
Really? That's like,
as a historian, like because I've studied this.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh my god,
I literally have a degree in this. This is a very well reasoned opinion.
We're the worst. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like and all in the name of like imperialism and just like,
yeah,
I want that.
Yeah,
I'll have it.
How can I have that?
Yeah.
What do we do with who had that before?
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Dude, it's brutal.
I mean, look, you do look back at that stuff and you're just like, you know what I mean? Like, just, I forget, I think someone's got a good joke about it. Maybe Daniel Tosh. It's about how, like, all the founding fathers in the US, like, had slaves and, like, beat their wife. Like, it's just like freedom for everybody. And they were just cunts. Like, just, yeah, you know what I mean? You just, like, it was just,
They still got that old country in them. They got that old Britain in them still. That's why.
It was like a stick, like, it was just that period of history. If you were on top and you guys were on top, it was like, hey.
Who's going to stop us?
Yeah. It was like the Spaniards were like, hey, come on, we can fuck some shit up. And you guys like, please.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. Exactly.
There's something that we kind of, I don't know how the British people have managed to just sort of like sweep that under the rug in a weird way, where they've just kind of gone, like, if we're polite enough, everyone's going to forget.
Yeah.
But if you do the digging, I mean, Christ, we're the worst.
But I mean, you look at that and then you look at things like when the world was smaller, I guess, like the Western world, you got to say Western world was smaller. Like Alexander the Great kind of raped and pillaged the whole world, like the whole thing. That was like one guy. So I'm like, I'm kind of like, he's the worst guy.
He's the worst. But he does have the name The Great. It's not like Ivan the Terrible.
Yeah.
You remember him as a dick.
Yeah,
but
it's
Alex
Alexander the
was
Great.
yeah,
but it's
man.
like, what was he great at? That would be raping and pillaging. And you're like, oh
wow.
That doesn't sound that great.
It's like a bad nickname, but he lucked out in the nickname front.
Yeah.
With the Great.
Because people don't do any digging. You're just like, well, he must have been pretty great. I don't know. It's funny. Do you have any like? I mean, you're saying like UK is the worst in history, and that seems like a very objective opinion rather than like a, you know what I mean? Like, rather than like, oh, I just feel like, no. So what about personally? Are you still kind of pro England, pro UK, or are you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't help but be pro UK just because I've got a massive family. I love my family. I miss my family greatly, and I think like when I think of the UK, I think of people as opposed to the place,
rather than like the kind of hierarchy and the
social
monarchy and you know.
Although I will say that since coming out here, I have never in my life would I imagine that I'd be so patriotic, such a monarchist, man. Like I could not have given a shit in the UK about the royal family. I was happy we got a day off for the wedding when, you know, like Will and Kate got together. Yeah. But now all of a sudden I've watched like one season of The Crown.
And you're in.
I'm so in, dude. I'm so fucking in. And also being like weirdly patriotic, like again, not ever giving a shit about, you know, the country, having this sort of sub disdain for us because of our dirty history. But now I'm here and everyone's like, oh, you're a Brit. I'm like, yes, I am. And all of a sudden I've got like flags and shit. Like I'm half a fart away from a tattoo.
Really? That'd be pretty good. You're just getting like the Union Jack just ready to roll.
But like it's just being away from the home has changed my sort of perception on that, because all of a sudden it's like it becomes a cultural identity thing where I'm like, I am a Brit, aren't I? And little things like my wife will bring up points where she's like, you're so British.
And she's Australian. Right?
She's Australian. Yeah, I mean she's got a complicated background of immigration and all that, but she's basically she's very much an Australian.
Sure.
But like she'll call me out on things. She's like, you're doing things that are so British, like. The apologies, the constant sorries, and I'm sure you know what that's like. And also, there's a weird sort of like it's almost like a selfishness without actually being selfish. It's like I'll rock up at a party and I won't bring anything, but I'll still be really nice to everyone there. No one notices that I didn't bring anything.
Yeah, but you will take stuff.
Oh my god, yeah.
You're not. It's not like you're just sitting around the party with.
Hell no.
You got full hands.
I've had 6 beers and most of the food, and she'll be like, "That's such a British thing to do," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I sit back and I think about it. I'm like, "That is fucking very, very."
I mean, that's like imperialism. Like just.
It's in there, Dan. I can't get rid
of
it.
I didn't bring anything with me, but I'm going to take everything I want.
I didn't mean to be this way.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a weird thing since coming here.
Yeah.
And again, that's like Australian people seem to be the opposite. Like super generous, incredibly friendly, really, really lovely. Whereas like I find Brits to be almost naturally quite entitled. And I think the class system does that to us.
Yeah.
We're kind of just like, no, I should be getting that. And you're like, no, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, why? It's like, because, you know, I should. That should.
Because I rode here on a horse.
I mean, if you ask me for something on top of a horse, I will probably give it to you. I think it's just like the kind of person I am. Just like, oh, fuck, you probably need it. You need a carrot? It's probably for the horse. Here you go. Take your horse carrot. I do. It's funny. I think like, I never know if this is like a generational thing or like just kind of where you kind of figure, because we both do kind of like alternative things, I guess, like, you know, esports and like comedy. It's like you're not kind of in like an office, but like I found British people very welcoming to me, because I think like when you're in that field and like there's kind of like a lot of you and you're kind of dealing with the same stuff, talking about the same stuff, like bringing a new person in, that's exciting, you know. Like as an Australian comedian in the UK, people are like, what's going on down there?
One of us.
Yeah, just like you're saying different stuff to me. This is great. You're not a threat at all.
But there's still like such a connection there, because I think Britain's got an amazing history. I mean, you know, like it's got a great history of comedy, and it's got a really lovely culture of comedy in the UK. Like people love stand up.
Yeah,
we love laughing.
It is part of the
life
culture.
Is grim.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I did this is fucking bringing up Instagram again. Jesus Christ, just really being my age. No, it was just funny because like I'm putting the show on in Sydney, and like it's just hard to move tickets to a comedy show in Australia.
I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's just like I just looked out at this beach in Maroubra, just picturesque, sunny sky, beautiful waves rolling in, plenty of space on the beach, and that stupid umbrella armchair shit that you do in Europe.
What about the pebbles on Brighton Beach?
Pebbles? Oh,
fuck that,
dude. Brighton Beach smells. Brighton Beach, I've never seen a beach that smells like a swamp before. Like, it's gross. Like, you
It's
just look at it,
disgusting.
and people go in there, Bill, this is great. And I'm like, no, it's your bath is cleaner than that, you
Yeah.
freak. Like, oh, man. But yeah, I just like looked out at this beach, and I was just like, man, it's so weird that more people don't see stand-up comedy when you're just staring out at, like, the ocean, like you're Titanic, king of the world shit, but still on land, so you're going to live, you know?
Yeah, you've won. That's the thing with Australia. It's so beautiful here, man. It's
Yeah.
so... Like, it's ruined holidays for me. I can't go anywhere because Sydney is already prettier than 99% of the places in the world I've seen.
Totally. And you just go for the culture. That's like why
Yeah.
Australians, like if you go to a beach in another country, it stinks. Like, it
It's
just
not
does.
good. Like, I went to Thailand not too long ago. I'd never been to Thailand. It was like, I should definitely do that while I'm on this side of the world.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, these beaches aren't that good. You've rolled out, like, Bronte, mate. Just little old Bronte.
Yeah, you can walk there.
You can walk there. And everyone's friendly. The coffee's 10 out of 10. The food's good. I mean, apart from the sun, which is unreal for the British listeners, nothing will ever prepare you for
Yeah.
how horrible the sun is on this small area of the world.
You're like kind of pale. Not like super pale, but like standard issue
Standard
English.
issue pale. I mean, under the shirt,
like-
I've got the body of a geisha, but like the face has been taking a bad hit recently. I was outside
Yeah.
for 15 minutes.
And it just does. Do you do sunscreen on the way to the shops? Like, are you that level?
I should do, but I don't.
Some people, man, like I think a lot of my girlfriend's brother, he's like kind of similar complexion to you, and just like, man, if he's going outside, he's got the screen on, or he's got a big hat, or both. And it's necessary. Like, people look at you like you're crazy. It's like, nah,
It's really
this sun will
necessary.
get you. Like,
Have you ever been to Tasmania?
no.
It's even worse there.
You reckon the sun's worse
Way
in
worse,
Tassie?
dude. Way worse. There.
How?
Even that ozone there is even thinner over Tassie, and Tassie is a phenomenal place. And I think I don't know whether the ozone rays or the sun rays, the UV rays, sorry, are enhancing that little part of the world, but it is phenomenal there. But the sun is it's just ridiculous.
Just like, well, Tasmania's just green,
Super
lush.
green. Like, the air it's the cleanest air on the planet, I think. The food, the drink, everything is perfect there. Like, the waters around Tasmania, I think it's the perfect conditions to grow like salmon.
Okay.
So like the world has little pockets, like other countries have pockets of water where they just grow this amazing salmon. It all gets shipped around.
I didn't even realize you grew salmon. Is that a
It's
thing?
like a salmon farm.
I thought
Yeah,
that was
you don't
like,
have to pick them or anything. They just
just like if English people want to keep living in Australia, you got to pick some salmon. You're like, man, this is so hard.
Did you salmon picking yet?
I should have done the strawberries. Oh man, but
But
so wait,
Tassie's amazing.
what brought you here initially? That's actually a good question.
That's a great question.
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to this.
It was my now wife. So I met my partner at university. She was on exchange,
Okay.
and she was just
what
like
university?
University of East Anglia in Norwich,
Okay.
which was tons of fun.
Tons of fun.
That's one thing that UK definitely does
University.
very well is the university life. No matter where you go.
I think Australia is one of the worst university because we don't make you leave the house.
That's it.
Yeah.
In one, that
there's-
is it.
There's no dorms. There's no colleges. There's no
Because
get amongst
if you
this.
live in Sydney, you're going to go to what? UNSW or Sydney Uni.
Yeah.
Like,
pretty
you're not going to
much.
go to Canberra or to Melbourne.
Yeah, Canberra's like the only one. I actually got into Canberra and considered going, but my parents were like, no, don't go. They're like, go to UNSW instead. Like, they kind of... Whereas like in other countries, they'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
Get out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had 18 consecutive years. Go. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see you at summers and Christmas, and that's it. Like,
And that does make, like, it's so much fun. Moving into halls, moving into dorms, meeting a ton
Yeah.
of different people from different backgrounds, different countries, different views is phenomenal. And that's like without even traveling. Like, I had exchange students from Nigeria. We had 2 Chinese people. We had, like a guy from Scotland. And it was like, oh, look at all this different. This is nice
yeah,
and fun.
I bet you guys don't live in a house from 1220.
They did not, dude. They fucking did not. Did I tell them about it? Oh, yes.
Of course you did. That's what you opened with. You should come back to my place.
But that leaving the house really does like make a difference here, and that's something that Sydney doesn't do at all. Like, Australia doesn't do at all because it's just geographically small. So like, if you can get a bus to uni and then bus home, you're not learning how to cook or be a person. Like, you've just gone home.
Yeah, you just like you kind of keep it going. I don't know if it used to be a bit different because like I know my dad. He grew up in Newcastle and he went to university in Sydney, so you kind of come in and you live in like a share house. You do that stuff. But these days, like most of my friends lived at home until at least like 3rd, 4th year even. I didn't move out until after uni. I was just at home the whole time.
Yeah. So
And then you move out and you're like, wait, this is great. Wait, what?
this
There's no old people
It's like I can do
anywhere.
I can have cereal for dinner.
Yeah, I just like No, I think you get your grub years out earlier in the UK. You know, you get your grub years out like 18 to 21, then you have like a few meals you can cook. You know how to clean.
Yeah.
Whereas like I was a grub like 24 to 26 until I met like my girlfriend. I was just like just the grub guy.
Yeah.
Being like, who wants pasta sauce out of a jar? Like that kind of dude.
Not everyone gets out of the grub years though. But yeah, that's where I met my now wife, and she moved me pretty convincingly at the end of her tenure in the UK. She was like, "Do you want to go back to Sydney? Like, I've got to go. If we want this relationship to work, you should either come with me because long distance is going to suck across the face of the earth," and it did for a bit of time.
Did you do the long distance? You did give it a go?
We did it for 2 months. Because I committed to
2 months is not long. That's good. You dodged bullets, man.
Yeah. So I'd booked my flight. I'd got my visa sorted, and I was like, right, I'm coming, baby, I'm coming. And and I said, give me 2 months to wrap up my life and cancel my gym subscription that I never used.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was going to say, you haven't used it in a while, huh?
Clearly not.
Since you moved here, haven't really hit the gym.
Got a bad back, Dan. But yeah, so it took a bit of time to do that. And then she was just like, come to Sydney. That's it. And I've been here ever since.
Wow.
It's the typical, like, I'm that guy. It's like, oh, working holiday, and you just never fucking leave.
Right. That is the English Australia story. Like, all of them live in Coogee, and, they're just like, it was just better. Like, my old housemate, one of my very good friends, she did the exact same thing. And she works in reality TV. You got to really like Sydney to be like, you know what? Fuck working in the UK in reality TV.
The most dependable of all the TVs. It will always be there.
In the UK, you guys love that shit on a level I cannot fathom.
Between that and panel shows.
Yeah.
There's a panel show for every topic ever.
There's like a panel show for every person who's ever been asked a question. There's like that many.
And not all of them are good. Not all of them can be QI, even then, not everyone loves QI. But there's something for everyone. But the reality TV show is ridiculous, man. Even here, like seeing like The Bachelor.
I hear it's growing and growing.
Yeah, I could not believe how much the country has got behind The Bachelor. I think it is dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand it. My girlfriend's into it, so I kind of get like that over-the-shoulder watching experience. But then like my friends, they're producers on the show, like they tell me about like, the contestants like doing drugs and like fucking each other because like they like kind of keep in a hotel like a kind of 4-star Lord of the Flies, Shit. It's just like here's alcohol and each other, good luck, and like that sounds way more interesting than the show.
I was going to say that's like Big Brother without any rules.
Big Brother up late. That's what.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Australia used to have that.
Doing? Let's go now.
Yeah.
Big Brother up late. Big Brother after dark.
Yeah, and then was it? I forget. Yeah, I never got into that either. I just never.
That's the thing. The UK ran Big Brother for so long.
But I heard in the UK they did it better because in Australia it's just like here's a bunch of dudes living in a house, hooray. Whereas in the UK I heard it was like much more produced in the sense of just like, I'm a devout Muslim, I pray 5 times a day, and then the other guy's like UKIP, like Britain for Britain, and then like they're just like they're not supposed to get on, so it's just this social experiment in combustion, I guess.
They also look for people with like borderline personality disorders who just could not operate with other human beings, and it's like throwing like 9 cats into a bag, just shaking it around, putting cameras everywhere. At times it was unwatchable, but then every now and then you'd be like, it could be worse, because you go to like the Dutch version of Big Brother and there's like people having sex under a table. And it was just like, okay, we could be worse.
Yeah, we're
at least we're civil.
We're respectable. We keep that English prudishness.
Everyone says everything behind the backs.
It's just really like passive aggressive. But to each other's face. They're lovely. Actually, wait. Oh, fuck. I was gonna say, sorry, because you're working in esports. This just occurred to me. Is that a lot of travel? Because that's the one thing, like, with comedy, like any kind of live performance thing in Australia, that's one of the really hard bits because it's a huge country. There's not a lot in the middle. And so if you want to work, you got to move a lot. And I assume yours would be even more international. So you're just kind of constantly on a plane?
This year, I've spent like in total over a month or just about a month on an airplane in terms I've been going back and forth from the US, all over the US, since January. And I only stopped in, I think it was like the start of July. So I've spent a lot of time on airplanes. I've seen every movie. Obviously,
of course, you've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, and I get very excited when a new month ticks over because I know the films will be different. But yeah, I mostly work in the US. I did one gig this year in England, which was great. Parents came up, it was amazing. Birmingham NEC, it was cool to be there.
What does NEC stand for?
The National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham.
Okay, so I thought it was like a gaming thing.
Oh no, just just the venue. We were there for this festival called the Insomnia Festival.
Okay.
Which is exactly what you think it is.
Yeah,
just,
right.
Just no one stops.
Dudes with neons in their computers.
Yeah, lots of like those little caffeine bottle pill things that you just take swills of. And
this is the thing. I used to, play video games. I never went to like a proper LAN party, but like I did go to like a mate's house with my full PC because back in the day, that's how you had to be a hero. Mum puts it in the back of a station wagon. Your dad pretends he didn't see it, and off you go. Right? It's a good system. But they do up computers like cars for anyone who's never seen that before. It's like kind of like Fast and Furious, but with a PC.
We did a whole segment on our show here about souped up computers and the people that make them and like how much money and time goes into them. People really go hard for like...
What kind of cash we talking?
We're talking like thousands and thousands of dollars. And this is aside from the PC itself. Because like if you want to buy a good PC, you drop like $4,000 probably.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I get given this shit now.
Of course.
But like if you want to like doll it up with like water piping and like LEDs everywhere and like fans and shit, that is another like $3,000 or $4,000. Some guy he'd made his PC look like the Quake logo, which is like a sort of weird Q.
Yeah.
And he'd left like it was all exposed. It was like metal work that he'd like done himself, and he spent like 10,000 hours or something ridiculous in total on the thing. That's probably a gross exaggeration, but like unreal. People go to extreme lengths to show the stuff off, exactly like cars.
Exactly like cars. Yeah, it's like it's weird that that's kind of like the digital version of that subculture. Like I think like gaming and cars, like it's like, I mean, they're the opposites in a lot of ways, but they're like the same.
Yeah, it's anything.
It's like a dude with sick reactions, like, and lights on his metal. Like that's.
It is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I find esports has got more in common with like UFC though, because it's something that people have always done, but hasn't always been something that people are kind of culturally accepting of. Right. People have always fought each other in like fight club scenarios in major cities around the world. Now there's just a ring and a camera and Joe Rogan. It's different.
Yeah.
And the same with gaming. Like when I was a kid and we played games like competitively, we did it in like a gym. We hired out a gym, or we'd hire out like an internet cafe. No one really knew what was going on. I didn't tell my mates for years what I was doing or anyone at school, because it was so dirty and weird, and like I was embarrassed by it because it wasn't like cool to play games. It wasn't cool to do that, but it was something I really loved, like to compete like at a high level. I was so passionate about, but I could not share that with anyone.
So did you meet the people you game with online? Like it was all just like your kind of chat room, kind of forum vibe?
And dude, this was when chat room pedophiles were a big deal. So when I tried to convince my mum to let me go to like Birmingham. So Birmingham is the esports mecca of the UK.
Really?
Yeah, because all the buses get there. All the mega buses take you straight there.
It's so I know it. I know it well.
Birmingham Digbeth is the coach station where everyone would just meet up. I know at first it was weird because I had to convince my mum to let me go there.
Were you one of the younger ones, or was everyone
14.
quite young?
I was like 14. No, it was ages vary totally. We had dudes there who were like mid-20s, late 20s, dads and stuff. But like you don't really know until you get there. Like you meet them online, you play with them, you talk to them, then you get there and you're like, oh my god, this is super weird, isn't it?
Yeah, because I remember when I would play some games like at quite a high level, and you'd have people that you'd speak to like every day.
Yeah.
And they'd be like some weird dude from like America who's like 10 years older than you. To meet up with them would have blown my mind.
It was insane. And also you don't know what anyone looks like because this is like pre-Facebook as well.
This is like this is all screen names.
Yeah, this is all screen names.
We didn't by your screen name, I assume?
Not anymore. I dropped that shit.
But what was your screen name?
Oh, my screen name was Wrath. Like
Wrath.
Like the deadly sin Wrath.
Spelt just...
No, the T was a 7.
Yeah.
You know why? Because of the 7 deadly. Yeah, I was like 13 when I made it.
Amazing.
And it stuck though. It stuck. But I did drop that shit professionally.
So what now? You're just like
I'm just Miles Ross now. Yeah.
Like, do people still go by their screen names, or do they?
Some people do. Some.
Okay.
Because I wanted to branch out into other things. Like I didn't want to be like trapped in esports. So like I couldn't do like I didn't want to have like a TV show about games and be known as my game name. Which like I know now that my co-workers from Channel 7, like Hex and Barjo from Good Game, they are trying to drop those names. Like Hex is trying, Stephanie Ben Dixon is trying to drop the name Hex, but because she's had like a 10-year career in TV where she's been known as that name,
it's
can't
very
drop that
difficult.
Shit. You can't drop that shit.
Look, The Rock has proved that it's possible. Who's Dwayne Johnson now?
Dwayne is possible, man, but you need to have like the greatest run of films, of shit films, but massively successful
and
films.
The Fast and Furious films that were fantastic. Entirely turned that franchise around by casting him.
I didn't know you were a fan. I had no idea. I didn't even know you were a car guy.
I'm not a car guy. I could not give a fuck about cars. I love the Fast and Furious. I think it is the... I know that every aspect of my voice and every aspect of my personality means this is coming across as sarcastic. It is not.
You should see his face.
Look at Miles just across the room, just make a full eye contact with me, being like, serious? Like, yes, I am absolutely serious.
It's true.
I think they're so funny. Like, they are hilarious. Like, oh man, I could bang on about it, but I will save that for my Fast and Furious podcast series. I'm the only listener, and I just say it's really, really good for 2 hours.
It'll be a 7-part special.
Yeah.
It'll be a big, long one, like real long.
That'd be, to be able to talk to the people behind that, just being like, did you have any idea what this thing would become? And them just being like, fuck no. Like, because that first one, like, that was just like to kind of get this like subculture of people to go to a movie, and it was like for car people, and they mentioned Nos all the time. And now it's like this international heist movie. And Ludacris is buff? What? Like, what happened?
Yeah, when did that happen? Well, did that come out at the same time as Gone in 60 Seconds? Because, you know, films like Hollywood has a weird thing.
It was after. It was after Gone in 60 Seconds. I think Gone in 60 Seconds probably opened the door a little bit.
Yeah.
For Fast and Furious, because they were like, oh, we could have like hot people and cars. Because Angelina Jolie's in that.
Oh, yeah.
And Gone in 60 Seconds. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, and Nick Cage.
Yeah. But Nick Cage, I mean, he was in everything.
He was. But I find it weird how Hollywood does that, where they launch like 2 films that are almost the same at the same time, like Deep Impact and Armageddon. And then like Lord of the Rings and Eragon. I mean, obviously one of them has to die horribly.
Yeah.
But then you have like Fast and Furious and Gone in 60 Seconds, in my mind, came out at the same time.
Yeah.
But they clearly didn't.
I mean, yeah, it'd be close. It would be too far. But you're right, Hollywood does do that. It's like, I reckon it's like one film studio hears about the other one, and they're like, we got to buy let's just buy any script that's like that, and like just launch it.
Just push it, no matter how crap it is. Like, push it real hard. Like,
yeah, and that's it.
What a shitty industry. Aren't we glad?
I mean, we're doing the proper industries like e-sports and comedy. Those dickheads in film. Who even goes to see films anymore?
Who does that? Well, gaming makes more money than film, music, and television put together now.
I was gonna say that, like, if I was purely looking at the numbers, I'm sure that esports would just be how many people? Because you're a commentator, so how many people? Is it Twitch streaming? Is it like
yeah? We do Twitch. We do live events as well, and like because like the one thing that really messes up everyone's viewership statistics are China. Okay. China really messes that up because there's no way to like really quantify that variable. So like everyone goes, we had 8 million people watch this event, and you go, fuck, that's insane. Like, really? Wow, our game didn't do that much. Like, this like League of Legends, like 10 million people, 11 million people, and you're like, whoa, that's wild. 90% of that were Chinese people.
It's just like, yeah, we just assume.
But we do like live events. Like, the biggest thing I did this year was like the Call of Duty championships, like the World League Championships was held at the Nationwide Arena in Ohio, and that was packed out, and like that was pretty surreal experience to just see like these actual people who are here to watch a game and watch the players who are playing the game, because like, I've been in this for a long time and I've seen it like grow, go from like me and my mates like huddling around some dude in the finals and we're like, get him, to being in, like, I was in the Forum in Los Angeles last year.
The Forum
for this thing called COD XP, and that was like...
Is that where Dave Chappelle shot that special? Yeah.
Dude, and it's like on the walls, you've got like Queen, David Bowie, and we were in our dressing room.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, we were like, this is fucking unreal. We were in our dressing room, we were like, who was the last people in here? And they were like the Rolling Stones. And I was like, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. But it was so weird, man. And then like when we finished the show, like Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa, like, I think I'm saying that right, they've closed out. So we like gave the trophy away. We gave like $2.5 million or whatever. It was nuts. And then they came out, and like you could tell Snoop was in the building because the smell was phenomenal.
Really?
Of his own like just special weed.
The Snoop weed.
Yeah, it was so surreal. And of course it was in LA, so it's legal there, but like still just nuts, man. And I was like, what the fuck is this gaming shit all about? I was like, I've made it, mum. Took pictures. It's like, tell granddad. Yeah. Tell granddad it's okay.
Dude, that must be so nuts to just kind of ride that. Because, like, this is the start as well. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
You'd be like, what, the first generation of...
Well, maybe like second. There's some older guys in it now.
But, like, in the actual commentary or just in, like, esports in general?
In general. Like, guys who, like, invested in players young or, like, invested in websites or things like that. Like, there's a whole slew of weird ways for people to stay in this. Like, and I'm not going to pretend to know the business side of it, but there's like a guy that runs a website that now is like a talent agency for players, and he's doing fine. And yeah, it's a weird thing, man, to watch this grow and
it's
change.
Just starting to have like an industry create itself around dudes playing games, right? Like everything. It's like there's this thing that people like, and other people are like, how can I make money off that? And just start inserting things.
Yeah, it started off like punk rock. It was so cool. Like we brought our own stuff, and we were just having a really, really good time, and there was this cool energy about it. And now the man's here. You know, like it's weird.
I mean, I do like that you've equated it so far to UFC and punk rock.
It's counterculture, man. It is.
I'm just imagining like just all these like jack dudes just rolling their eyes, just be like, yeah, bro, totally the same, bro.
You got to see, gamers now are all jacked.
Really?
Yeah, because they're on camera. They're on camera all day, and like all those YouTube vloggers and shit. Like they're all jacked, man.
Is there like a nutritional thing around gaming now?
Yeah,
like
yeah, totally.
Like they've got like their own little regimen, and like they got like RSI stuff, and
they definitely do.
Hand exercises and all that shit. Like anything around any other sport.
Yeah,
it's like there.
There's a Counter-Strike team in Denmark called Astralis, and they have sports psychologists, nutritionists, personal trainers.
Wow,
you name it, man. They're sponsored by Audi. They're killing it.
Can I ask one more question? Sorry, I just think this is like such an interesting. I want to call it a subculture, but I don't really think it is. To be honest.
Well, that's the thing. It's changing. Like, and it's like it began as like a weird counterculture thing where I was like, I like this because it's so different.
Yeah.
And now it's becoming so mainstream, and it's like the change over the last year has been like. I can't even track it almost. Like month by month, some shit happens. Like Ninja, this Twitch streamer, plays with like Drake, who, you know, one of the biggest musicians in the world. Course. All that shit happens so quickly. And now all of a sudden, like people are coming up to me going, "Hey Mars, my kid's got a Fortnite problem. What can you do?" I'm like, "Whoa, man! Like you didn't know any of this like a month ago, and now all of a sudden it's like a big deal, and it's in the kind of spotlight."
Well, Fortnite is the one that I've seen just kind of come to crazy prominence. Like as a dude who like I don't play video games anymore. Like I haven't really touched them since I was like 19. Yeah. Well, then I'm describing it's like drugs or some shit. Like,
but it is.
It is, yeah. Oh, it's addictive and it takes a lot of time and it's expensive. And that's pretty much the same. But yeah, it's just like
to see this change though, yeah.
Like just in that kind of quick change from like just nothing to like now it's like so much money, but like Fortnite is that one that like keeps being brought up in the media.
Yeah, it's because it's affecting kids. Like
right.
Channel 7 equated. There was some piece they did where it was like, my son's playing Fortnite, and apparently, according to doctors, playing Fortnite is equivalent to taking very small hits of cocaine on a kid's brain. And I was like, fuck me. If they had played Halo 2 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare, that shit was like heroin. That shit was like, forget like a little hit of cocaine. That was like, I was so deep down the Modern Warfare hole. I didn't know I had legs. Like, it was so good, Dan.
I like you're sounding like those guys being like, man, you should have had the coke at Studio 51, bro. Should have had that shit, son.
The acid back in the 60s was the best.
The kids these days don't get it. And it's like been like 5 years because that's like digital.
It's digital life.
Digital speed. Like, you know, it's just like it's been 5 years. People are like, you don't get it.
You kids don't get it. Our brains are so messed up now.
Is there any way? Sorry, can I put up like, you will send me like a link or something that I can just put on this episode? Because I think people will want to kind of see
like what this is.
Because like it's weird because I've definitely seen like things because like you skim it and whatever, but to kind of get like the idea of just like one of those esports events that you're commentating at, we'll put something up. So if you're into this kind of thing, because I love this stuff, I'm always like, how does this whole thing exist with like what 90% of the world doesn't even know it exists, but then like the other 10% are like aware, and then there's like 1%, not even less than 1% that are like, this is fucking everything.
Yeah.
This is so much.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think all of this is run by, it's all being predominantly funded by the guys who make the games. So Blizzard, for example, they have this thing called the Overwatch League, and they've created a league. They've modeled it on the NBA. You invest in the league. It was a $20 million buy-in to be a part of the league. And like Robert Kraft, who is the owner of the New England Patriots, up front was like, I'm in. And straight away. And like Drake has just invested in this team called 100 Thieves. Like everyone across the world now is starting to kind of get like an idea of what it is. But this has basically changed the lives of a handful of kids who are now playing video games full time. And it's just nuts, man. To go from like that in a few years. Now they're on salaries, they've got pensions, they've got 401ks in the US. They're being pulled out of their home and out of schools to play in these leagues. And they're on like $60K a year US, like just playing video games at 14.
That's nuts. It's like... Where does Australia fit into that? Do we have? You said we had that athlete who won, obviously, but like, do we have like a pretty healthy kind of scene here? Or
it's getting there, man. It's getting there slowly but surely. I mean, the biggest problem with Australia, as like anyone who has lived here or moved here or even travelled here, is that it's so far away from everything in every way. Like culturally it's so different to places because the outdoors is so beautiful. Like Northern Europe, US, it's kind of hit and miss at times with the weather, but like here it's phenomenal. So no one wants to stay indoors. So like culturally, it's
not for like the whole year. That'd
hell
be
no.
necessary to play enough to be good enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the internet sucks here.
The internet
and
speed. I was going to ask because we
it
have
sucks.
that horrible internet.
Yeah, and also being so far away geographically, like it takes so long to travel, and then therefore like the internet is going to be bad, so you're not going to be able to play with people. Like it just sucks, man. It's just this is one of the most beautiful places in the world and one of the most phenomenal places to live. But fuck, does it suck if you're a nerd?
Fuck, does it suck if you're a nerd? That is Australia, both actually and like culturally. I think every Australian person's like, yeah, we're going to fucking get those nerds, bro. Oh, man. But so with you being a very professional man, any plans to leave? Any stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean,
you're going to have to.
Gonna have to. Yeah, gonna have to. You got to take that leap to the next level in the same way that you did for comedy. You
Yeah.
got to go somewhere where there's a more healthy environment for it. And I think Australia's getting there, but it's still a few years behind and a few kind of wild and crazy investment.
Yeah,
opportunities
and
need to
would
happen.
the UK ever be like a possibility for you?
Yeah, the
Like, for this
UK.
kind of stuff?
There are a lot of my friends who work full time in esports in the UK. They work for a company called ESL, and they've got healthy livings from doing this full time. You know, they have to commentate a whole slew of shit. Like you can't just like generalize or specialize in one game. You
Sure.
have to know a ton of stuff, and they're really really good for that.
But the UK is like kind of more part of that world than Australia, you could say.
Much more. There's just more people, man. And that's another thing about this place. There's no one here, Dan. There's very few people here.
I think I was talking about that with people when I first came back. I'm like, oh, so how is it being back? And I'm like, honestly, it's a bit eerie. I just expect more people to kind
It's
of
quiet, isn't it?
yeah. If you're walking home, you're just kind of like, where are they?
What do they know that I don't?
Yeah.
What am I missing?
It's definitely that,
Yeah,
and it's like,
weird.
it's like, where are they? They're gonna jump out from behind a bush.
You're on
Is that
edge
where
now,
everyone
dude.
is? Yeah.
It's. I mean, I probably should have. We could have talked a lot about like just what this place is to a foreigner. Like for anyone who's never been, this place is like a petri dish of like just crazy. There's just nothing here is. It's familiar in that you know it's a tree, but when you see like up the tree, there's a bird that sounds like a monkey, and it's a kookaburra, and there's like, and the plants looks like some shit out of Starship Troopers. Like it's just wild here. Like,
Well, do you really? I would have thought just being here 7 years, like it would have almost become a bit washed because like I come back and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, like hear that? That's a bird.
yeah, it's weird.
That's chill.
I'm not
Like-
washed at all. Like, I'm just looking out the window now and it's like a beautiful purple tree. Like, what is going on, man? And the animals and stuff, like anything that has a pouch, I'm like, wow, how's it got a pouch?
Yeah.
You know, and then, I mean, I've been stung countless times by jellyfish now in my like quest to become a pro surfer.
Of course.
But yeah, the whole country is just remarkable. This is a remarkable place that fucking sucks for nerds.
Fucking sucks for nerds, and yet here you are, making it as a nerd, surrounded by all these beautiful trees. I think that's nice. No, I mean, the other thing I was going to say, have you done like the snorkeling and stuff like that? Like, have you done? Because I think as a non-Australian coming to Australia, you kind of hit that bit better than an Australian. You know? Like I've never been to Tasmania. I've never been to Perth, and like I travel doing comedy for a living. But like you're taking up surfing, you're doing the snorkeling. I think like Australia, even when you live here, it kind of feels like a vacation.
Yeah.
That's what I like. The people who move here.
That's a really good point. It almost feels like this is the perfect place to retire.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to live here unless you've just got like a really, like a rock steady job. But for comedy, for anything like that, it's not really good. But I have done snorkeling. I did go to the Great Barrier Reef and I've checked that out and it is wild.
Yeah.
It's a little grey. It's not grim yet, but it's getting there.
Really?
Yeah, that was super sad. That was years and years ago. And I was just like, man, this is one of the most phenomenal things on the planet, and we're killing it, man. Before I get all Greenpeace, like it's sad. Like it's really sad when you see it. And
Oh, dude, like yeah, it definitely is. Like you just kind of, yeah, because you just see like in the UK, you kind of like you see the end result. Like that's the way that I kind of look at the UK. I'm like, oh, this is the end game. If you turn a country into a garden, this is it. Like, and there's just not the stuff, and you're kind of like, oh man, I think Australia is going to be like a thing, like that people visit. Kind of like Madagascar kind of shit. Just like, I just want to see some stuff.
yeah,
Like-
the free world. This
Look
actual wildlife.
Look at that big ass lizard with the neck. Like, look at that thing.
That's another thing, man. I saw a bug here, and I still don't know how to describe it. It was like it looked just like a grasshopper, but it was red. And I was
red
like,
grasshopper.
I think it wasn't a Pokemon or anything. It was an actual animal. And I was just like, what the fuck? I was on a bushwalk and I was like, honey, we're going home.
Yeah.
We're going home.
I
That's it.
can't-
I've seen enough. I'm out.
I can't continue my day after the bug.
It was the size of my shoe as well. Like, I've no idea, man. I could have been stoned. I don't know.
And on that note, I think that's where to leave it. I mean, I think that's why, smoking weed in Australia, like a lot of people are into it because it makes more sense.
Yeah, much more sense.
When you just kind of chilled out, just kind of really interested in stuff, you're like, look at that fucking tree. And just stare at it for a bit. Look at that weird ass creature. Oh, just look at it for a bit.
This place is beautiful, man.
It's not, but yeah, I still find it impressive that other people are so motivated. You came here, you started going for jogs, and I'm like, aren't you just confused by the stuff?
That died real quick, like super quick. I was like, I died instantly, man. And also, I suffer from hay fever.
Oh yeah,
as a true nerd.
Did you suffer from hay fever in the UK?
A little bit,
and over here, you must be fucking dead.
I'm now. I've got an inhaler now.
Yeah,
in the UK, I was fine.
Australia's got one of the highest incidents of asthma in the world.
Dude, it's unbelievable. I went to a doctor's and I was like, "Hey, what can I do?" And he was like, "Move." Fucking God.
Those are your two options:
die or move. That's like fucking terrible news to hear.
Oh,
Day
dude,
one.
my girlfriend's brother takes a hay fever stuff every day. It's just it.
That's
You
no
gotta do
way
it
to
every
live.
day.
Dan, that's no way to live.
That's it. It's like kind of like the pill. You got to take this, otherwise something's going to happen that you don't want to happen yet. That's the way to do it. All right, Miles, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Thank you for enjoying my country more than I have. As to other English people, do you have any word of warning if they are thinking about maybe Australia's for them? What would be your one piece of advice? Is there anything?
It's that Baz Luhrmann song, just bring sunscreen.
And that is probably the best actual advice. All right, mate. Good to chat to you.
Thanks, dude. Thank you very much.
All right, so that was my chat with Miles. I think you'll all agree that is a whole new world. Like, I had no idea just the kind of scale of some of the prizes within esports. I mean, $25 million prize pool. That's crazy. That's more than most sports, let alone just confined to computer games. I think you'd struggle to get that with sports that have been going around for ages. Like, I don't think the AFL kind of prize pool for clubs or players will be anywhere near that. And that's one of the most attended sports in the world. I wonder where it ranks with darts. That's the thing. I want to maybe I'll put that in the little description for the podcast. What the darts prize pools are. Just because, as you know, if you're a UK person, darts is fucking massive at the moment. People love a game of darts, but definitely more people play computer games, and it's fascinating that everybody else is starting to realize just how much money is involved, and some of that is going to Miles Ross. Who would have thought? You move from the UK to Australia for love, and you end up being an esports commentator in what has to be one of the smallest markets for esports in the Western world, and also just so far away from everything. Like, I assume, as he was saying, like the majority of his work happens in the US with Blizzard, and that is a hell of a flight. But he sticks it out, man. He didn't stick out with the jogging. He didn't stick out with the active Australian lifestyle. But, he's kept up with the esports, and he's trying to do the surfing. I respect that, man. Anyway, if you like him, please grab him on Twitter. I'm sure you will find absolutely more things about that. I know that podcast definitely went a little bit off topic in terms of talking about the UK versus Australia, but I think, cyber sports versus regular sports is just as interesting, and it's not often that you get a chance to sit down and chat with someone like that. If you do like Miles, he is at Miles the Ross on Twitter. As always, that information is going to be in the little episode packet. But anyway, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening again this week. I promise to be back on Monday with a brand new episode, the final episode of Australia Month on the Union Jack-Off, because I will be flying back to London on Sunday. That's it. I had my little jaunt, I had my little fun, and then I'm back to London, where I'll be around chatting to more comedians from all over the place who currently call London home and live in houses not nearly as old as Miles's 1220 house. Constructed in 1220. That is so insane. Like, I think that's like, isn't that like technically Dark Ages? Like, that was the bit of history where they were just kind of like, yeah, we don't even know what really happened. All we know is this one house was built. And now the man who grew up in what I assume looks like a house in half the video games you play when they're setting like those sword-swinging, paladin, smiting people with shield kind of games, he grew up in that house. And now he calls that shit for a living. That's ridiculous. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm Daniel Muggleton. Please get in touch on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. You can find me. I'm out there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And, like, subscribe, tell a mate to listen to this thing. Anyway, have a good week. See ya.